Let's have a look at a new sequencer from PM Foundations called the Quantola. It's a version of the Quantolla sequencer, but it has a quantizer. So we're going to use the Quantola here. This one actually has been expanded with another 8 CVs, so this gives us 16 CVs. With the quantizer, it also gives us 16 scales. We'll get into that in a minute. For this demo, we're going to be using let me see. We're going to be using a buffered malt from PM Foundations. We're going to be using 3 of the 8080 VCOs from PM Foundations. Again, those are the VCOs that were modeled after the SCM, Oberheim SCM VCOs, so they're a tribute to that. We're also going to be using the SCM VCF tribute, that's the 3080 VCF, and 2 the SCM envelope generators, the ADSR-D. And the neat thing about these is we have the limited edition Toronto Sound Festival panel on those. That was done for the 1 year, a couple of years ago. Always fun to have a limited edition, especially when it's for the Toronto Sound Festival. So let's start this thing up and just have a quick little listen to it. Pretty easy. Just hit the start button. Right now it's set for a chromatic scale. Because we have the expansion, we can have 16 different scales. So there's 16 scale possibilities. Without the expansion, with just the 8, you have 8 scale possibilities. The Quantizer has a clock, an internal clock, has an input for an external clock, input for a start button, and outputs. In this particular case is a transpose output, input. Oh boy, and there's an output for the gate, output for the CV, quantizer button, output for the clock out if you're using the internal as a master, and you can put a glide as well. These controls are for transport, that's play, that's back to the first step, and these are forward and reverse for the steps. Let's just stop that for a second. We're going to give a listen to the quantizer itself, so I'm just going to turn up the VCA a bit. Maybe I'll turn down the resonance on that VCF a little. Go to the first step and you can hear the quantizer. So turning the knob gives us semitones. So if we run it, the neat thing about a quantized sequencer is it's really easy to put different patterns in, so you can get a lot of fooling around with it, and some improvising and who knows what else. This is going to go a little haywire pretty quickly because it's chromatic, and because I have it hooked up to a MIDI keyboard and a MIDI to CV interface, we also have the transpose. Okay, enough of that. So that's actually pretty handy. I kind of like that. So what I'm going to do is we're going to stop it again. Let's just change the scale. We do that now that the 3 blue LEDs, that's my fault. I used the wrong LEDs. I don't know, I kind of like it, but the problem is, of course, when you hit them, they get, major bright. For a full explanation of some of these, you should probably go look at the Quantolla demo. But basically they tell what happens at each step. So if you want a 5-step sequence or a 2-step sequence or something, whatever like that, you use the do and the at. In this particular case, the do and the at actually do one more thing. They pick the scale for the quantizer. So again, we have 16 different scales. We have minor pentatonic, major pentatonic, some of the modes, Dorian, Aeolian, things like that, harmonic minor, that sort of thing. So there's 16 different scales. I'm actually going to go to, I think, number 4 is the minor pentatonic. So let's use that one. So if you go to a scale that's a little bit more limited, it's a little easier to start improvising with bass lines and things like that. And it doesn't take too long to get some cool sounding lines in, and then you can go and fool around with everything else you have. So again, I'm just fooling around with the envelope generators and the filter. And then of course, because it's quantized, we can change this around pretty easily. So that's basically it. It's really just a quickie sort of demo, similar to the Quantolla, but it's quantized. Let's kick that up a little bit. And now I'm hitting the keyboard to transpose it. Handy little feature. That's basically it. So again, you can quite quickly get some interesting bass lines, interesting little melody lines out of it. And that's it. That's the Quantolla from PM Foundations.